What if I told you Minecraft has a fourth dimension that you've probably never seen? And it's in vanilla Minecraft. People usually say Minecraft has three dimensions. There's the overworld, the nether, and the end. That's how it's always been explained, and that's how most of us learn the game. Three different places and three totally different dimensions. And when you think about it, that makes sense. You start in the overworld, you learn, you build, you survive. Then you go to the nether, things get a little bit harder, and finally you reach the end. Everything slows down, the world feels very empty, and when it's over, it's actually over. So for a long time, I never questioned it. Minecraft already feels massive, and even after years of playing, it still feels like there's something you haven't seen yet. And when the game feels that big, you really don't look for what's missing. You assume everything important is already there, but recently, I started seeing something different. Not the game itself, just a bunch of weird clips online. People weren't talking about updates, they weren't talking about mods, they weren't talking about new features, they were actually talking about a place that kind of looked like a brand new dimension. A place in vanilla Minecraft that really didn't fit anywhere. At first, I just ignored it. Minecraft has always had rumors, dark lores, and the longer you've played, the more you've heard them. Stories that sound interesting but fall apart the moment you try them yourself. So I just assumed this was the same thing. But the more I began digging into this topic of a fourth dimension, it just felt very different. People weren't super excited about it. They weren't trying to scare anybody, and it wasn't overhyped. The videos were all calm, mostly quiet. The clips were very slow, with just instructions on how to get to this fourth dimension. Nothing really made sense. People were really just running around, pasting a bunch of commands, and the place they eventually got to looked completely broken. It looked corrupted, it looked glitched, and very unfinished. And for some odd reason, that stuck with me, because if something like this was fake, I expect it to be missing textures, have strange colors, something that immediately tells you, yeah, this isn't real. But I can assure you, this was not like it. It looked like a place in vanilla Minecraft that the game already rendered. So instead of asking whether it was real or not, I decided asking something else. If this place did exist, how would you ever find it? Minecraft doesn't usually hide things like this. If there's a dimension, you simply would build a portal, light it up, and go through. But this really didn't sound like that. The clips were all indicating some dimension that you somehow had to glitch into and you get there by accident. So that's why I chose to start in creative mode. Not to cheat, not to rush, but to simply remove distractions. See, the point is to get to this fourth dimension, and survival mode just adds that pressure. You know, you're always thinking about food, tools, mobs, time, and I didn't really want any of that pulling my focus away from doing this glitch itself. I wanted to move slowly and carefully. And as I started these steps, almost every clip began in the end. And the more I thought about it, the more sense it made. The end has always felt different. Not dangerous like the nether, and not alive like the overworld, just quiet, no sense of time passing at all. Once the dragon is gone, the game really doesn't guide you anymore. There's no step, no suggestion of where to go. It feels like the game has reached its final sentence, so I went there. Standing on the end platform, it felt very familiar. It's a place most players only visit once or twice and then leave. As I started progressing through the steps, that's when I realized direction starts to matter. A lot of players say you have to face north, and normally that wouldn't mean much. Minecraft really doesn't care in any direction like that, but when you're dealing with something that already feels like a glitch, you gotta pay attention to the small details. So I didn't question it. I stood there for a while before doing anything, just looking around. The end already feels unfinished, but now it felt kind of weird. Like I was almost being separated from whatever was underneath it. And in the early steps, it instructed me just to start placing blocks. At first, this really felt pointless. A lot of stone over and over again. And after placing over 20,000 blocks, shocker. Nothing happened. No lag, no sound, no indication of any glitches at all. And honestly, that is the moment where I almost stopped, but I decided to keep going. And usually Minecraft is very clear when you're doing something meaningful. You get a sound or reward, some type of response, but here the game wasn't paying attention. I was simply just placing a ton of blocks down and waiting, placing another, waiting again. And eventually something started to feel a little bit strange, very broken. The rails I placed down somehow became powered without anything on them. But that's the thing, Minecraft was built on rules, and when a rule bends even slightly, you notice. That's when I realized something important. This wasn't about doing steps fast. It was kind of about letting the game catch up to what I was doing, since I was really just overloading it by placing a ton of rails. But the whole rail thing is super odd because there's not anything that's actually powering these rails, not even underneath. But from every point on, the steps really were precise. You couldn't place certain blocks, you couldn't do certain things. It had to be a certain rhythm. I honestly don't know how someone found this, but as I started to progress, I got towards the final steps where you essentially break part of a portal and run in. And once I was in, it really was at this loading screen forever. It felt completely fake, and honestly, I stood here for about 10 minutes before I'm like, what the heck is going on? But apparently you're supposed to just escape this screen, and when I did that, I was in this blank kind of end dimension. My skin didn't load, nothing was there. I simply just teleported out, and surprisingly, it worked. I was in this fourth dimension, and I honestly thought for a while it wasn't going to work, but this truly speaks for itself. The world felt very dark, not like a nightmare, but just dark, almost like the light was absorbed instead of reflecting. There was a bunch of weird chunks. It just seemed really glitched. It almost felt just wrong to be here, and that's when it hit me. I definitely was not supposed to be here. This was not a place Mojang intended us to be, because the chunks loaded super slowly. The world was just falling apart as I was trying to place blocks. I even found this cool fire chunk, which was just weird. No matter what type of mode I was in, whether I was in survival, I just couldn't die for whatever reason. And when I placed blocks, the chunks reacted to placing an entire chunk of the blocks, which was not something that's in regular Minecraft. I felt like this world was running on different code or rules. It just felt really secret, almost like a place that we weren't meant to see. There were no real structures. I did find this weird glitched mineshaft, and the more I stayed in this dimension, the more I felt like I was breaking something. My game wasn't even gonna crash. It was really just odd how the code was behaving. As I broke blocks and certain keys just didn't really work, I was really just curious about how everything worked. It almost felt like I was walking into this dimension that the developers tried closing years ago, but for some reason this place still exists. It was really never cleaned up. I found some pretty weird chunks per se, but most of the time some things just disappear completely. And the longer I stayed here, the more it felt like the game didn't know what to do with me. Nothing attacked me, nothing really pushed me out. It just was a place frozen in time. There was really no clear direction where you're supposed to go or what you're supposed to do. It just exists. And at this point, maybe that is the fourth dimension. Maybe this is a fourth dimension. So if you ever feel like Minecraft is more to it than you were meant to see, you're right, especially in vanilla Minecraft. I was totally proven wrong. And when you push the game far enough, overloading the heck out of it, you start to stand in places that have no reason to exist. You find secrets, you find leftovers, but somewhere in the game, there's still a door that was never closed.